welcome, hello, welcome back to anybody who has been to take a break. We'll just see if anybody wants to join us. Hello Tina, hello Lily, hello Matthew, thanks for coming. And Sue has joined us as well. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody realised that Sue is actually one of the other co-founders of OM Health and Wellbeing. And actually what she's going to be doing is if people have any questions or comments that they're making, what we're going to try and do is that Sue's going to reply to those in the comment sessions as they come up. So welcome. We've been doing a bit of Makaton all throughout these take a break sessions. So I just wanted to say hello. So that is the Makaton for hello. We'll just wait a few seconds, see if anybody else is joining us. It's just a bit unbelievable really, isn't it, to think that this is now week 4. That's a month. We've spent a month in lockdown. It still doesn't feel real. Although actually, I don't know about anybody else, but it certainly feels like we're getting more into a pattern and a routine. Although actually, Saturdays and Sundays seem to just sort of all merge. Well, days are tricky. It's tricky to keep track of what day it is when. But actually, it feels... Oh, is the writing back to front? Oh, that's really annoying. I don't know how to change that. When I was trying to test it out earlier, the writing was back to front, but then when I re-watched the video, it was around the right way. Oh, I don't quite know what to say about that. So anyway, you'll get the idea when I use this stuff above my head. Okay, let's start. Oh, the other thing, Makaton. So the Makaton sign that I thought would be really good for today is the Makaton for wash your hands. So it is just wash your hands. So just wash your hands. So really easy. Thought very apt for the current climate and the fact that we have to all keep washing our hands. So yeah, apologies that the writing's back to front if you're just joining, but yeah, when you watch it back, it'll be around the right way. Anyway, so my name's Annie. I'm one of the co-founders of OM Health and Wellbeing. And when all this started 4 weeks ago, Sue and I, my business partner, decided that we were going to try and think of a way that we could do something on a regular basis that might just help people who are stuck at home, who are working from home, and people who are just, finding it tricky because it's such an unusual situation to be in. And it's unusual for everybody. And I think everybody is having a wobble, is finding it quite tricky. So we came up with the idea of doing Take a Break. So we do it every single Thursday at 3 o'clock on Instagram Live and just share some of the stuff that we think is useful, that is really positive for well-being during these really tricky times. So if you've missed the other 3, they are all available on our profile page, so you can go back and have a look at those. The one that we did last week was around how to get a really good night's sleep. And I think that one of the main things that I would say about that is that I've had some feedback about some of the stuff that we talked about. And some of the feedback that I've had has been about, well, I tried it, but it doesn't work. It didn't make any difference. I still had a really bad night's sleep. And actually the thing about the sleep techniques and the sleep tips that I gave you last week is that you really need to be doing them consistently every single night. If you think about where you currently are in terms of age, whatever age you might be, it's probably taken you a good few years to get to the place where you are now, where you're really struggling with sleep. So to be able to undo some of those habits, some of those patterns, actually it's going to take a little while, and it's not going to happen after just 2 nights. I've done what you said for 2 nights and it hasn't made any difference to my sleep. You really need to be consistent and you really need to stick at it. And I promise it will really work. It really works in terms of getting your sleep a bit more settled and giving you, getting you a better night's sleep with a better quality of sleep. So this week I decided that I wanted to go back and talk a little bit more about our glitter mines. And I showed this last week when we were talking about sleep. So this is something that we call our glitter mind. So at the moment you can see that the glitter is absolutely settled and is really clear. And we use this to describe what your head feels like when you feel a bit anxious, a bit worried, a bit wobbly, a bit angry. So if I give this a really, really good shake, hopefully what you can see is that all the glitter then is just all around your head. And actually, you just, when you're feeling like this, you know, you feel really wobbly, you feel really anxious, you can't think straight, you can't concentrate, you can't focus. And actually the world feels like, you know, your mind is just out of control because your mind is racing so much. And what we do in all the sessions that we run is that we talk about how do we get that glitter to settle. Because what we need is we need the glitter to be settled in order for us to be able to make those good choices, those good decisions. Because, you know, when the glitter has settled, it means that you are in a position where you can make good choices, you can make informed choices, you're much calmer, you're much more rational. So today I'm going to talk about top tips about getting that glitter to settle. And if you want to make your own glitter mind, there is a really short video on our website, and the link to our website is actually in our bio, so please just go over and have a look. They're really easy to make, but a really nice visual way of thinking about actually when I'm a bit all over the place, how does my head feel, and a really visual way to show, you know, for yourself, and if you've got children, a really visual way to show children about how it feels like when they've got all these big emotions going on, whether they feel angry or they feel frustrated or they just feel really sad, but they feel overwhelmed. Really good way to show that visually. And it is all to do with a little part of our brains which is called the amygdala. And the amygdala is the part of the brain which is the bit that's all to do with the fight, flight, freeze response. So it goes back to those days when we used to all live in caves and you'd have to go out and hunt and gather your food. You would be out and suddenly round the corner would come a saber-toothed tiger. What then happens is your body floods with a chemical called adrenaline and you get what's called the fight, flight, freeze response. The saber-toothed tiger is there. In that split second, your amygdala is the thing that actually kicks in, and without you even having to think about it, it decides, right, my best bet here is to run away as fast as I can. Actually, I'm going to stay and fight it because I think I can wrestle the saber-toothed tiger to the ground and I've got a chance of winning. Or I'm going to freeze, drop to the ground and play dead and hope that it just doesn't notice me. So your amygdala is like your alarm bell, your alarm signal that goes off in your brain. It is the most primitive part of the brain, and quite often what happens is that it tends to be overstimulated, oversensitive, and it starts to think about perceived danger when there isn't any danger present, and it gets those alarm bells ringing when actually there isn't a danger there. So, you know, we don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore, we don't have to hunt and gather our food, but that fight, flight, freeze response is still there. If you think about it in terms of really primitive time, you know, the primitive things that happens in the animal kingdom, you know, for us, that flight, fright, free, I can't say it now, blah, blah, that fight, flight, freeze response is quite often now done by, we get that reaction by perceived thoughts that we have, by things that we're thinking, like, oh, I'm not doing very well in, you know, at home during the lockdown, and my boss thinks that I'm not working hard enough. It's those sorts of thoughts that create that fight, flight, freeze response. If you think about it in terms of animals, you know, I think a great example is if you think about a herd of deer. So a herd of deer are all there, they're all grazing, they're all eating the grass, and suddenly one of them sits up, stands up, puts his head up, realises there's a lion that's coming over, there's a threat, there's a predator, so sounds the alarm, and all the other deer run. Every single one of them, the whole herd, runs as fast as they possibly can and as far away as they possibly can, until they get to a place where they actually think, well, yeah, no, we think this is safe now. So they all then put their heads down and start grazing again, and don't really think about what's going, what just happened. What doesn't happen is that one of the herd then turns around to another, deer and says, wow, that was really close. What would have happened if that lion had got us? Oh, that was really awful. But as humans, what we tend to do is we tend to do that thinking. We tend to do that, the amygdala is working overtime, and it's that fight, flight, freeze response created by the thoughts that we have. What we really need to get the glitter to settle in our glitter mind is we need to get our prefrontal cortex working rather than that little amygdala. And the prefrontal cortex, one of the main jobs that it has is to control our emotional response to stressful situations, and to try and get us so that we don't get too stressed out. And actually it's the bit that actually helps to settle the glitter. And if you think about where we all are currently with things beyond our control, actually, quite often a lot of us currently are really feeling low levels of stress all the time. So what we need to think about is actually, what are the techniques that we can use to help to settle the glitter, to actually just get the prefrontal cortex working, so that the amygdala isn't there, the alarm isn't going off in our heads about there's this danger, we need to do all these things and have this big response, which is about the adrenaline in your body, which has a massive physical impact on you. So I really want to just concentrate on what are the top tips about getting the glitter to settle. And I'm going to give you a few. So, and I'm going to sort of think about it in terms of ages, because, obviously the audience that are watching, I'm not sure what ages maybe you are, what ages your children are. And some of these tips are really good to use with children. So if we think about your glitter mind, and if we just shake it all up, one of the best things to think about is getting some breathing techniques that will help just to get the glitter to settle. So the first breathing technique I'm going to talk about is a technique which is really, really fantastic for primary school age, so sort of under 11. And it's called calm hand breathing. And, you may well have seen it before called 5-finger breathing. But calm hand breathing is a brilliant way to get young children to just take a moment to think about their breathing. And what you get them to do is you get them to hold up their hand. And then what you want them to do is you want them to trace round their hand and breathe as they trace. So as they go up the finger, they breathe in, they pause at the top, and then they breathe out as they go down. They breathe in as they go up the finger, they pause when they get to the top, and then they breathe out as they go down. They breathe in as they go up. If you want to join in, please feel free. Then they breathe out as they go down. They breathe in as they go up to the top, they pause, and they breathe out when they go down. And you breathe in as you go up, and then you breathe out as you go down. And by the time you've done one calm hand breath, if I show you my glitter mind, all of the glitter has settled. And young children like it because it works in two ways. It's really, really slows down their breathing. But the other thing that it also does is that sensory. They're so busy concentrating on tracing around their finger that actually they forget about what it was that was making them go into that alarm state, that fight, flight, freeze response. So a really good one. The thing about all these breathing techniques is you really need to be practicing them when you don't feel anxious, where you feel very calm, where actually your glitter's settled, and just practicing them so that when you do feel like your glitter's going all over the place, it becomes almost like a second nature to actually do it, to not have to think about it too hard, to think actually we need to do some calm hand breathing. So that's my first technique that I would give you. The second one is called, we call it 4-5-6 breathing. And I did talk about it briefly when I talked about sleep last week. So what you need to do is you take an in breath that lasts for the count of 4, you hold your breath for the count of 5, and then you breathe out really, really slowly for the count of 6. And the out breath needs to be really controlled. It needs to be, imagine that you've got a birthday cake in front of you with all the candles on for your next birthday, and you can make them flicker, but you're not allowed to blow any of the candles out. So you breathe in for 4, hold for 5, breathe out for 6. And again, what that does, it just slows down that adrenaline response and gives your prefrontal cortex time to actually do that rational bit, to actually just think to the amygdala, hang on a second, this isn't really a threat. We don't need to be worried about this. So it's just about getting those breathing techniques. So 4, 5, 6 breathing. To be absolutely honest, the actual numbers don't really matter that much, so long as the out breath is longer than the in breath. Because if you have a really long, slow and controlled out breath, what that does is it puts your body into, it affects your parasympathetic nervous system and just helps to put your body into relaxation mode. And that's what we want really. We just want to calm down those responses. I think if you're somebody who does a lot of yoga, I think any type of yoga breathing is a really positive thing to do. And there are lots at the moment. There's lots of free stuff on the internet that you can look at, which is all about different breathing techniques. So I would recommend, if you're doing yoga or if you're a yoga practitioner, share that with your children. Share that and use those yoga breathing techniques for when your glitter feels like it's all over the place. The only other breathing technique that I wanted to talk to you about is one where actually you put your one hand on your heart and one hand on your tummy, and what you do is you take a really deep breath in, and then you just really slowly let that breath out. But again, the same principle. The out breath needs to be longer than the in breath so that it just affects that parasympathetic nervous system. But just placing a hand on your heart and a hand on your tummy helps you to actually feel that breath going in and out and just connects you. It's that touching yourself just helps in that second. The other technique I want to talk to you about is something called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's a really simple grounding technique designed to get your glitter to settle. So again, if we think about your glitter mind, if we think about it when actually you're starting to feel a bit wobbly, a bit anxious, your glitter starts to go all over the place. If we use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's a technique that just helps the glitter to settle. So what you do is you need to look around the room and find 5 different things that you can see and just tick them off in your head and get the 5 different things. So sitting here, I can see my glitter mind, I can see the camera, I can see a tripod that it's on, I can see a pile of books that it's on to make it the right height for me. So think about, tick off, what are the 5 different things that you can see around your environment. 4. What are 4 different things that I can hear? I have to say it's very quiet in here, so I can't really hear anything apart from me. I can hear my occasional jangle of my necklace, but think about, just spend a second and think, right, what are the 4 different things that I can hear? It might be bird song, it might be, a car going past, but find 4 different things that you can tick off in your head to think these are 4 things that I can hear. Think about 3 things that you can touch or feel. So I can touch the table. It feels, smooth and hard. I can feel my bottom on the chair. I can feel my feet grounded on the floor. So think about 3 things that you can touch or feel. So it's about using all your senses. Number 2, think about 2 things that you can smell. So hopefully it's going to be something pleasant. It's not going to be something horrible that you smell. But, the cut grass, the tree, the person's perfume sitting next to you, whatever it might be, 2 things that you can smell. And then number 1, the final thing is about remembering 1 thing that you can remember that you like the taste of. So that might be KFC. might be mum's roast potatoes, could be chocolate cake, whatever it is, think about actually what's that one thing that I can remember that I really like the taste of. So that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things you can see, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch or feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste or remember that you like the taste of. And the idea is that it just gets you out of your head, out of that thinking, and actually helps to just get you back in the moment, away from your mind that's racing and those thoughts that are making you feel like your glitter's just going to go all over the place. And this is really where my thing above my head is, and I know that all the words are round the wrong way, but if you watch it back, hopefully they should be round the right way. When I was testing it earlier, they were round the right way. But anyway, all of these things are sort of a really, and this is our simple idea about actually what is mindfulness, because all of these things are about being mindful. They're about getting your mind back into the present, because actually that's where we all need to be, in that middle one. We all need to really try and focus in the present moment, be in the here and now, because actually, you know, if you're somebody that spends a lot of time thinking about the past and ruminating about the past and thinking about, oh gosh, if only coronavirus hadn't happened, you know, then I would have been, you know, finishing my degree, or I wouldn't have to work from home, and you know, if you know, things had been different, if I hadn't got that job, if only I hadn't been, you know, bullied when I was in year 10 at school, you know, whatever it might be. If you're somebody that spends a lot of the time in the past, what that tends to do is make you feel quite low. I feel like the weather lady. I'm not sure how successful this is, but anyway, I'll persevere. If you are somebody that spends a lot of time worrying about the future, and I think at the moment for all of us, the future is something that we are concerned about, that we are worried about, because it feels so uncertain. You know, we don't know. If you're somebody, you know, if you're sitting all the time thinking, when is this going to end? How's it going to end? What's it going to look like when it ends? Actually, and oh gosh, if this never, what am I going to do about going, you know, back to school? How's that going to feel when I get back to school? It's going to be really hard, or I can't go back to, it's going to be awful going back to work because I you know, all those friendships that I would have made. And you know, if you're somebody that spends a lot of time thinking about that and your mind racing and trying to predict the future, actually what that does is it makes you feel really anxious. And mindfulness and some of the breathing technique and the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 are all about getting you to think about and bringing you back to the present moment. It's about taking notice of the world around you, because you know, mindfulness has been proven that it really helps to relieve stress. It helps to lower your blood pressure. It can really help to improve your sleep. You know, so not only emotionally will it have a positive impact, it really has a positive impact in terms of physical health as well. And, you know, it doesn't have to be, I think sometimes we all get a bit carried away and think, you know, you have to do this long course about mindfulness and it's all a bit hippie and I don't really know. It can be really simple things like, you know, have a mindful moment during the day. When you are thinking about having your cup of tea or your cup of coffee, just take a second and think, oh, okay, how hot does this feel when I'm holding the cup? How heavy is the cup? How does it feel when I hold it in my hand? Take a moment just to smell it before you actually taste it. You know, think about savouring that moment, taking a moment just to be mindful. It doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be sitting down for 10 minutes and doing a mindful meditation. It's about trying to find little tiny mindful moments during the day that you can think, just with your everyday activities. You know, you're just about to eat lunch. You know, what does the food look like? What does it smell like? What colours are they? How does it feel in my mouth? What's the texture? Try and think about building in some of these little mindful moments into your day, because what they do is they just get you to be in the present, to be in the here and now. And actually, when we're in the here and now and we're not doing the past and the future, actually that's much, much better in terms of being able to settle our glitter. It's much, much better to actually let the glitter settle and get yourself focused on the present moment and what you can do. Yeah, so as I said, there's a link in the bio which has got a link to our website, where there's a really short video about how to make your own glitter mind. Really powerful, really useful. Lots of young people that we work with and adults that we work with really like them. We've had adults who've made them, and what they do is they say to their children, you know what, if I do that and you come in and you want to talk to me, you need to just give me a minute and wait until my glitter's settled. Because, you know, as adults, not just about children who get glitter minds, it's all of us too. So it's about actually just letting the glitter settle. And it is about practicing when you don't feel your glitter's not all over the place. You have to have your glitter settled to be able to practice some of these techniques. And it's about finding the techniques that you like and that work for you, because it will be different for everybody. Everybody will like a different technique that they can use. We would recommend 2 particular apps that you can download. Smiling Mind is an app which is really, it's great because it is free. You do need to register and give an email address, but they never send you any junk. You know, I don't get bombarded with emails from them. But the nice thing about Smiling Mind is that they have bite-sized meditations, and you can choose the length of meditation. So they will have a 10-minute one, an 8-minute one, a 3-minute one, a 1-minute one, and they will all be based around different subjects. So really user-friendly, really easy to use. As I said, user-friendly. Yeah, really accessible, because it is free and because it is so straightforward. And the other nice thing about it is that it's not an American voice. It's actually an Australian, which, you know, is makes quite a nice change rather than American. And the other app that we would recommend is Headspace. And there's quite a lot of parts of, you know, you did used to have to pay for Headspace, but actually at the moment there are lots of different parts of Headspace which are free. So it's worth going on, worth practicing, worth having a look and registering for Headspace as an app that you can use. So I hope that's been helpful. You know, please give us a follow. Talk to other people about it. It's been, you know, really brilliant to have your company today. I think that, you know, every Thursday, 3:00, take a break. It will be, I'm not sure about next week. If you've got anything in particular that you're struggling with, please just drop us a direct message or just leave a comment to say it would be useful to get some information about this or whatever that topic might be, and then we can, you know, tailor it more towards the people who are planning to watch. But yeah, please give us a follow, talk to your friends about it, please pass it far and wide, and hopefully that has been helpful. Thanks for joining me. Oh, I need to learn the Makatong for goodbye, don't I? Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it? So, yeah, till next week. Thank you.